Alright, here we go. I just got this package. Pull it out. Oh, I think we're upside down here. Dun, 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 dun. Phantom Epoch, a game by Tyson Abernethy? Is that how you say that? By doTERRA Games. Here we go. We've got all the books here. So I did get a message from them saying that in here, the cardboard components in here are final. However, this package, as you can tell, it doesn't even have the rule books in it. The packaging itself is not final. So we've got the laboratory, the chamber, surgical room, and workshop here. Sorry about that glare. We've got the rule book. It's got good pictures. Everything that should be in there. Looks not too bad. I really like the spiral bounding. That is very helpful. We've got how many pages of rule books here? 63. Ooh. How's that for a picture? That's cool. Then we've got mission book B and mission book A. Little top flap there. They could go together for the missions. And many more extras coming soon. Stop. Extras. Don't read that extras. So I won't read that. And then we'll get into the unboxing of the actual stuff. Alright. Let's go ahead and take the top off. Here. Maybe. Maybe. There we go. Alright. Also, like I said, this they are hoping to get more packaging in here. The packaging will be much more organized. However, they do have everything here. We've got a deck of cards there. Another big old deck of cards there. We have all these miniatures and their bases. So I really like, they have this health point tracker right on the character. I think that's actually really neat. So you don't have like all these like little tokens that you place in everywhere. But each character you just kind of twist on that base. Let's see if you could really, you can kind of see it's got numbers there, 10, 9. So you kind of rotate your character to point what their health is. Really kind of cool idea there. We've got the mission log or class tracker, basically kind of tracking each character, what they've owned, their name, class, which campaign you're playing them with, and everything. We have the dice. Right here, 4 different types of dice there. We've got a lot more of the smaller deck cards here. And we'll go through these real quick. Yeah, here we go. Oh, look at that. That's so cool. The Mutant Growlic. I don't know. Maybe these are spoilers, so I'm sorry. We won't see too much longer here. And then we got these punch-out tokens here. Alright, that's everything in the box. Now let's kind of go through each of these individually. Alright, so here we've got these small deck cards here. And each planet has their own equipment cards. So here you got tier 1 of Burkov, and then tier 1 and 2. And then you got Burkov there. Some more item cards. You got the Orbos tier 2 cards. It looks like they're actually kind of all over the place here. And once again, the organization is definitely not final. But as you can see, a lot of different attachments and whatnot. Try not to get too many spoilers here. But kind of showing all the different attachments that you could have. Next, we've got the mission counters or tracker. Right here for the character and the missions of what they've played and completed. We also have, this is the overall campaign tracker. So you can kind of see what tier, this is how you track which tier you can get for those equipment that we just looked at. And then I'll be honest, I'm not sure what this is. Instructions, own. These must be like achievements or something we could get throughout the game. We'll have a look at that. Now let's look at the dice here. Good sound there, I love that. I love it. Little dice there, we got the hit. Oh no, this is the accuracy dice, whether you hit, whether you miss, or whether it blocks. And I believe this is the hit dice, whether you get criticals. I think there's a, yeah, there's that critical. I think, is that a miss there? Here we go. Here's another hit dice. Whoops, there we go. There's that critical. There's that miss. And then this one is the decision dice, I think is what they call it. Meaning you roll it at the beginning of each turn. So if there's ever a tie, you first base off the color that it is. So that's blue. So you go with the blue enemy after, if there's a tie. If there's still a tie, then you go over the big number. So the most south enemy or person that you're tying with. And then the small number if there's still a tie. So usually by that third one, there's usually that tiebreaker. So this is like a decision / tiebreaker dice. Nice. Now let's look at these little counters here. Let's see how they work. And they got the human male. I think that base just broke off. Which usually these prototypes, come on, autofocus here. Usually these prototypes are not as well. Yeah, see, look at that. He's got the base there. That's the female Grolic, I think is how you pronounce that. I don't remember. Man, that autofocus. There we go. That's pretty cool there. So, my understanding, you take whatever base color you want, for the heroes at least. It snaps onto that base. And you got that base, it's got that little thing there. And it snaps right on. Now, you can see there's that little arrow right there. All you do is twist that. Wow, that actually slides really smooth. Ooh. It's a little loose, so that kind of scares me actually. I would want there to be like a click for each one. Just, you know, move it around the board if it gets shifted. I feel like that actually spins way too easily. I really like this idea of just that quick movement of that thing. And it doesn't take up a lot of space, right? It doesn't make it huge. It's still pretty small. But yeah, I feel like just moving it around, it's going to slightly shift. We'll see if they're all like that or not, though. Here's the male version. I like this species. This species definitely looks cool. You've got the arrow there. Let's see how. Let's go with a different color. We got the base there. Let's try this teal. Yeah, that locks on just like that. And yeah, it looks like there's not really any notches or anything. I'm looking to see if there's a notch for each number individually. But I'm not really seeing a notch there. Meaning, I mean, it clicks on there quite nice. Oh, there you go. This one, it's not as, a little bit, but it's still staying on that number, where this one, that's the same pressure that I'm giving it. And it twists way easier. And this one with that same type of pressure, it doesn't move near as much. But this bottom goes quite a bit. But yeah, if that could lock into place a little bit better, or be a little bit smoother or a little bit more stiff, I would like that a lot better. All right. Now let's go on to these deck of cards here. Once again, I don't want to spoil too much, so I'm just going to kind of shuffle through these real quick. Here's the story additions. You've got a story, and then you can pick what you want. And it tells you the results on the back. Just kind of going through quickly there. There's some enemy cards, some enemy decks going on here. Enemy AI cards. Kind of going through here. Once again, I don't want to do too more. I don't know what's technically spoilers here, so I'm just kind of shifting through quickly to kind of show you what's kind of going on here. Lots of cards. These are more normal, quote unquote, normal size, like playing card size. With those first ones were that definitely the smaller cards there. Now, let's go ahead and take one more. We've got one more deck of cards here. Whoop. These are look more of the hero, more experienced cards, more AI deck. More things here. Nothing new. It looks like kind of the same thing, just kind of scattered throughout all of here. Let's go ahead and look at these punch tokens here. All right. So we've got some tokens. Whoa, those all just completely fell out picking that up. We got some train pieces. I'm not exactly sure what those are. There's an orb. So it looks like we also got some standees for the enemies. Got some more terrain pieces, some more standees. It looks like even for some heroes here. So they must have a standee and a miniature version of that, which I actually like, because usually that means they could do it a little bit cheaper. So you don't have to pay for all of the miniatures. A whole lot more tokens there, some more standees. Backsides of those there. Wow. Yeah, these are all coming out real easy. Once again, I don't know if that's just normal or if that's just because it's the prototype copy. Once again, a whole buttload of enemies, standees there. Last package here. Alright, so these are our player boards. We got the warrior. And then where you can place your cards here. Super smooth there. And it's really thick. I mean, look how thick those boards are. That's actually like really sturdy. We've got the rogue. Once again, there, board there. We've got the ranger here. And the healer. So I'm not going to flip this over. I think I already kind of showed it, but this is one of the bosses. And it does have a lot of information on it. So let's see if I could just, I mean, look at that. Image is actually pretty cool. And then if you look at that, like, look at that. That's so cool. I really like the art on here. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get this game set up, and we're going to go through the tutorial. Welcome back. This is Board Game Officer. So we have the Phantom Epoch. I have played about 4 of the beginning scenarios now. So I'm just going to do a quick kind of overview of the game. And then just another quick little review. Like I said, I've played 4 scenarios so far. So take that into account with my thoughts and opinions here. But overall, it is actually very similar to Gloomhaven, or Jaws of the Lion specifically. You are going to use these mission books here. And as you can see, that's the board right there. You got the board there, you got descriptions there, and you got further description up on the top. So it sits like this on your game table, and you play from there. It is going to be a dungeon crawler. You have your character, you're going to go through, try to get your mission, attack the bad guys, right? Just a normal everyday dungeon crawler. However, the premise of this game, we'll go back to the cover here, is that about 1 million years ago, there was a spacefaring species that is also known as the Vanished now. And their kind of job was they kept the peace between the Grolix, the Slinks, and the humans. The three races, they were very peaceful and they lived each other. They fly back and forth between each other's planets. However, then all of a sudden this spacefaring species disappeared without a trace, without anything. This left a lot of people stranded, not being able to go anywhere. And then what that actually started doing was, because they weren't able to travel back and forth between their planets, those who were stranded on their planet started becoming a lot of wars between each of the species. And once again, this was millions of years ago. And so over the years, people have been trying to build up that technology that this species had. But no one has been able to really fully get back all of that technology. And so there are a handful, the heroes, that are called to follow the vanished footsteps, to kind of retrace their footsteps to get this technology working again, so they could gain all this peace back between the worlds. There are 3 separate planets here that you kind of go back and forth between for missions. You have Burkov, Thespara, and Orbos. I'll kind of explain what the sheet is here, but you got Burkov, Thespara, and Orbos. Those are the 3 planets. Burkov is the planet for the Grolix. Thespara is the planet for the Slinks, and the humans is Orbos. So those are your 3 missions. So we're going to go into the character setup here real quick. So you can see here I've got my 2 boards set up that I've been playing. I've got a Slink Archer and a Grolic Warrior here. So first you decide what species you want to be. Slink, Grolic, or human. There are male and female of each species. And each species has their own ability here. I'm not really going to get into them here just because it's going to be a quick overview, but just kind of know each one has their own special ability. And then there's a male and female of each race. Then you've got attachments here that you can get. I got that flipped over just so we don't have any spoilers here. You could give yourself some attachments, some items, and then also some equipment. As you can see here, you've got I don't know how well you could see that. As you can see, you've got a head for like a helmet, armor, and feet stuff. This here is the Rogues board. And then you have the Healers board. So those are the 4 classes that you can start with. You've got the Archer, the Warrior, a Rogue, or the Healer. Now each class has a deck. You're going to have a deck of 10 cards, 10 starting cards here. So I'm just going to go over the Ranger real quick to kind of show you. You got one that says attack with range +3, move 5, attack, gain invisibility, another attack, a triple attack. This is one that I actually bought later on. Attack target 3, move, guard +2, and another attack with a lot of abilities. So basically what you do, just kind of like Gloomhaven, you're going to take your cards and you're going to choose them. However, each card has a number right there. That is how many action points it costs to play that card. If you get the class card, or the character card, it tells you that's how many action points you can play each turn. So that means every turn she could use adding these up to 11. So like those things are 12, so she would have to not do that one, but she could do those two to make 10. However, this is where I kind of like, this comes into the initiative play, is 10 is her action points, but that's also going to be her initiative. So her initiative is going to be 10. If she only wants to play the 1, that means her initiative is 5. So she could play up to 11 action points, but the total is actually going to be her initiative. And just like Gloomhaven, the lower the number, the quicker you are. So if you play all 11 initiatives, then you're not going to go very fast, but you might be able to do a little bit more. Now this brings us to the enemies. Each enemy is going to have their own card. So that is a Grolic Archer. Got his HP, his guard value, his attack value, and his range. And then a special ability if he gets a critical on his attack. Now, because he's a Grolic, you pull out the Grolic deck. And because he's an Archer, you pull out the Archer deck. And what you're going to do for their initiative and for their turn, you turn over one Grolic card and one Archer card. This is how you're going to determine what they do and when they do it, right? Their initiative. So that big number right there is going to be the 4. And then when you gain an enemy, you're going to have a certain color of base that you put on them. So whatever color of base that is out there is which one is going to be. So if we have this Archer out there, their initiative is going to be 4. That had a yellow base, so it's going to be 4 plus 3. So that Archer, the yellow Archer's initiative is going to be 7. And these are the 2 actions that they are going to do. If we had one with a dark blue base on there, their initiative would be 9. And the dark blue one would be do that action and that action. And that's kind of how you determine that. So if you have multiple, like if you also had a Grolic Sentry out here, well, let's go with a Grolic Berserker, you would pull from the same deck because there's only one Grolic deck. However, then you would also pull out the Berserker deck to play that, and that is how you determine what the enemy does and when the enemy goes. And the next thing we're going to talk about are the event cards. So you have an event that says 1 through 5. They all got different names and different things that we're going to do. Because it says 1 through 5, you're going to shuffle this deck. Oop, as I bump the camera. You're just going to shuffle this. And then you're just going to pull off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you're just going to take 5. You're going to put the rest off to the side, put it back in the box, use it for another mission. And then you're going to shuffle the 6 plus. And you place these on top. And that is your event deck. At the beginning of every round, you're going to flip it over. And this says mission event. So there you'll go to the rule book, or not the rule book, but the scenario, the mission book. And you'll see what the event mission is. And that event will activate. Usually not the most positive thing. So it's kind of a pusher, right? With 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So after the 5th round, now you're going to be starting to grab these. They can be good, or they can be not too bad. Like this was the same thing. However, sometimes a lot more can happen. So this is kind of your push to go faster, because the longer you're in the 6 plus range, the more likely something else is going to spawn or something else is going to happen. So you have an event that starts beginning of each round. So I won't be here too long. This is the tutorial, so not a whole lot of spoilers. But as you can see, it has you set up, then it has you stop reading. Then when that happens, you're going to do the next part, and then you'll stop reading. And then when that happens, you'll read on. And it's going to keep on going until it says, congratulations, you have won the mission, and it gives you rewards. So the mission is changing as you're going. The mission events can change. The mission goals can change throughout it. So it's really quite exciting. Well, maybe not exciting. it really keeps the moment going, right? Because stuff is changing each time something happens. So I really enjoy that. All right, so now that you finished the adventure or the mission, you're going to do some type of story card. You got story expedition, or you got expedition for the specific planet that you were just on. There's a whole lot of expeditions you could go on. You read it, you take the option, and then you pick the choice A or B, whichever one you chose on the card. And then you do this resolution. You get to do one of those in between each mission. Something else you could do is using those skill points to level up some of your cards. So these beginning classes each have 4 cards each. And you could spend 1 skill point to put that one in your deck, 4 or 3 skill points to put each one in your deck. However, you still can only take 10 cards into each mission. So you kind of have to manage your deck and your hand in that way. Which ones you want to replace and take out for the new upgraded cards. Now, this is pretty inventive, I think. So this is the miniature. It's got an arrow and it actually points to the health. So you could just twist the health tracker. This base here is called the plus 10 HP. Meaning, if this is on here and he's at 7, that means his health is actually 17 right now. Where if he would get hurt underneath, you just slide that off. And now that means he's at 7. So that's kind of how you do health tracking. Instead of having all these little health tokens, twist that base around and that will tell you what his health is at. In between each mission, this is your tracker, so you can tell which missions you have. When something says, hey, you can unlock this mission, you go ahead and you put a green check next to that planet and that mission number that they did. Then when you complete it, you put an X or a check mark in that red box. It's X if you have completed it, but there are still some optional missions or optional goals that you did not complete. Or a check mark if you completed all the mission goals and the optional goals within each mission. Here, you could gain fame through actions and choices that you could make. The more fame you have in each place makes it so you could buy higher tiered equipment when you go to the store. You got the campaign names, characters, who's going on, and there's that vanish technology that you'll kind of gain as you go throughout the campaign. All right, now we're going to go through some of the pros and cons of the scan that I have found after doing the handful of missions here. All right, the first pro is I'm going to actually say these cards here. Everyone starts with 10 cards and they have 1 action on them. They have 1 action, but you could also, instead of doing the action, you could use movement points for however much action points that it has there. But mainly why I really like they're much more basic cards. So there's a lot less analysis paralysis, right? When you've got 50 million things you could do, it's really hard to choose which one to do. Or here, I think it's a lot better. It's a lot more basic. You know what you want to do. Then as you use them and discard them, your options kind of dwindle. Then you could rest, get your whole hand back. You get all your cards back when you rest, and then you could keep going on. So I really, really like that one. The next one is this AI system. I really, really do enjoy how different they are. Right, so this turn, I'll take those out there. Right, so this turn they're gonna move 6. The blue one's gonna attack 9 -2. The blue one's gonna leave for attack -2. The blue one's gonna do the same thing, but then the yellow one's gonna attack and +2. Right, so they're all doing something different, even though they're exact same enemy. They do something different. I like that variety. Right, in the next turn, they're gonna do something totally different. Their initiative is gonna be totally different. The next turn, they're going to do something totally different, right? These cards always get shuffled and something different is going to happen. I really do like that system of how they've done the AI deck. The next pro is these event cards. Like I was saying, the way that they did these events, mission events. So even though these cards are going to stay pretty similar to the same, there's some add-ons and stuff, right? But they're going to be pretty much the same, but because each mission has their own event, when this is mission event, it's going to be something different for each event or each mission. So that way it keeps everything moving differently, moving between scenarios instead of having the same event happen over and over again. I like the variety that this gives it, having those different events with each mission. The next one is how quick of a setup, right? Just like Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion. And there's actually a handful of other games too that have kind of implemented this. I feel like Jaws of the Lion is what started it, right? Started the popularity of it. But the fact that it's just a book, right? Boom, there it is. You don't have to set up all these different tiles. You don't have to go through all these different sheets and everything. You just put it up. It'll tell you what to spawn right off the bat, and then you go from there. So really quick setup. The next thing with that too is that as I was talking, like you stop there, and then you're going to spawn more things. And because it tells you where to spawn, so it actually, like right there, it says L4. This is actually gridded here. So you go L, and then you go up to 4. So that's how you know where to spawn enemies. Instead of having it on the board, the initial enemies will be, but anything coming from the mission book will be from the mission book instead of planted on here. That way you don't know what's coming when you open a door. And that was one thing with Jaws of the Lion, at least. Right? You kind of knew what was coming because you could look. It was right there on the board, and you knew how many enemies and what enemies. And that this way it really keeps it in the dark, and anything can really happen. I really like that. The next thing is actually this art. I don't want to spoil too much, but just kind of opening up here. Like there's some really cool art in here. This is mostly all the playing areas and everything, right? But those are cool. The Grolics, I mean, they just look awesome. The hero boards, they all got that different background and everything, what's going on. They even have a backstory of what made them a warrior and what a warrior actually is. A lot of cool art there. The next thing that I really like is actually these dice. So these are the 4 dice that it comes with. It's got this die. This dice is the decision dice is what they call it. Meaning at the beginning of every round, you will roll this. And this is what tells you what to do with tiebreakers. If there's ever you need a tiebreaker, you go to this die. First, it's the color. So if there's someone that has a base color, you do that blue color first. And then you go north, and then you go east. And then here, any base that's red, you go, and then you go east, and then you go north. So if the reds are tied, then you go east. If the east is tied, then you go north. Usually by those 3, you've got a decision made to do tiebreakers. The next, you have your basic attack die. It's got 1 fumble or a miss, and it's got 1 critical. The rest are 2 to 4 hits. This is what you roll to see how much damage you do. As a hero, you could choose at any time to use this blitz dice, is what they call it. Basically, it's going to give you a chance to do more damage. The lowest is a 3, but then the highest is the 4. But as you see, it has 1, 2, 3 fumbles, and 1, 2 crits. So it doubles your chances to crit, but it also triples your chance to fumble, but also ups your chance of doing higher damage. So higher risk, but higher reward as well. So that's that dice. And now this dice. This is my favorite dice right here. So this is what they call the accuracy dice. It's got 3 successes, right there, the arrow hitting the target. It's got 2 blocks, meaning that the object blocked it, and then it's got a miss, where your attack just totally misses. How they do ranged attacks here is the only thing that really blocks line of sight is walls and doors. Other than that, you can shoot through objects. So if between you and an enemy, is some barrier, and that line of sight goes right through that barrier, that's okay. You can still hit it. But for every object you go between, you have to roll this dice for. So you roll it. If you hit that miss, that means your attack misses. The arrow goes somewhere and you'll never find it, right? Or if you roll it and you get that block, instead of going all the way to your target, it actually stops and hits that object. Now, those objects, stuff you can shoot through, can also be other enemies or also heroes. So basically there is friendly fire in this game, or possibility of friendly fire, right? So if you're right here, and this is actually one of the heroes, and the hero is right here, and if he's attacking him, right, he could do that, but he has to roll an accuracy dice to see if he shoots through him. He gets a miss, that means it doesn't do anything. Blocked, that means it would actually hit him. If he got a success, it would go straight and actually hit the target, or hit the enemy that you're targeting. Now you don't have to roll this to hit it, you have to roll it for every object it goes through. So let's say there were, and I'm just doing random scenarios here, right? So let's say it's like that, and you want to attack this red guy for whatever reason. I don't know why you'd want to shoot that through there. But if you want to attack him, you can shoot him. That doesn't block line of sight. But you'll have to roll the accuracy dice for him. So if you roll an accuracy dice for him, and you get a success, awesome. Now the thing is here. You roll it again. If you get a success, boom, it'll hit. But if you get a success there, and then a block there, you will do all the damage just like you would to targeting him. He would get the damage. So that's like at the top of the frame here. But so I actually really like this die. It's one of my favorite things, and you can actually use it to your advantage in a lot of ways. Another thing that I really like are these spiral bound. How everything is spiral bound. Not only the mission book, but also the rule book here is also spiral bound. I think that makes a huge difference on when you're trying to look through everything and trying to do everything. It doesn't just like flap closed afterwards. Having that spiral bound is really, really nice. And one of the last things here is actually the cardboard, these pieces. So here's one of the player board. Like, it actually has some pretty good thickness. I know King of Average, when he does these, he'll actually measure these. So I'm actually kind of curious, because this is a lot thicker than most stuff that I've played. And I'm really actually curious on how thick that is, because that's some pretty good thickness there. So actually, I mean, even the little tokens are pretty thick. So the tokens are a little less thick than the board, but they are pretty thick. So those are my pros here. Now I'm going to go into my cons here real quick. All right, so for my first con here is actually this dice. Like I said, I like it. This is a prototype, so I'm hoping this will change. But that dark red is really hard to see, along as that dark blue there. I mean, in this lighting, it's actually not too bad. But, you know, even there, I mean, it's hard to see. You know, just that far away. So is that one. So the contrast is just not as great. And kind of on that same note, some of these little tokens that you get for your characters, right? Once again, in the camera, you really can't see because it looks not too bad with that lighting. But when it's kind of far away, that red just does not stand out as much. It needs like a background or an outline or something. I'm not sure, but it's just when I was looking through them, I had to feel like I had to look closely to find all the different red ones. The blue ones aren't as bad, but it's especially those red ones, just kind of harder to see. Now, going back to this guy here, right? The little health tracker. I like this idea. I like this idea that you're not keeping tokens around. I like that it's just right there. You can look to see what everyone's health is. But, I mean, look how easy that spins. Once again, these are prototype. But, I mean, wear and tear is still a thing. It still could be super nice right when it's out of the box. But after a while, it's just, I mean, it kind of squeaking and it just moves easy. What I would want is some clicking, right? Every single one has 10 on it. So it should, I feel like just having a good click, click, click to each one would be super beneficial and super helpful. The other thing that makes me worried with these is to get them on and off. Like when he goes down 10 health, I have fingernails right now, but I feel like I have to use my fingernails to get that off and then back on. And then I heal myself, so I put that back on, and then I got to take it back off, right? If I didn't have fingernails right now, I feel like that would be lots harder. So, right, and that clicking on and off, once again, just really it's really prone to wear and tear. And so that what worries me with this is that, right out of the game, cool, but by the end of the whole campaign, is it still going to be just as good? I like the idea. I just hope that they can get some good quality ones so they good snap into place, and then hopefully good quality that you can. I wish there was an easier way than with fingernails, because I'm like, when I was trying to do it the first time, I'm like, yeah, it's just hard to do it. So hopefully they come up with something. I don't know how they would fix the clicking, like clicking this on and off to make sure it doesn't wear and tear and make it easier. Because if you make it easier, then it's going to be even more prone to wear and tear, right? And then clicking to each health. So moving around the board, it doesn't shift a little bit, and then you don't know where your health is at. So this one is 100% personal. I don't think it's negative to the game at all. And I'm sure a lot of people like this, and I understand that you kind of have to in a lot of things, right? It's just kind of gameplay. But a lot of these equipments, you either get some negative ability there, and then you get this automatic ability, or you have to spend a orb to activate it. These are kind of similar to Gloomhaven 2, and I don't like Gloomhaven's equipment, so maybe that's why I don't like these, because they're pretty similar to Gloomhaven's, and I didn't like Gloomhaven's equipment. I just felt like the negatives don't outweigh the positive, or the negatives outweigh the positive. However, this is me. I've used one of these so far in my gameplay. So take that with a grain of salt. Sometimes you read those and they don't sound very good, but then when you actually get playing with it, you're like, oh, that actually helps a lot, right? So 100% could be the thing, so please take that one with a huge grain of salt. But just my initial reaction to these aren't too exciting. So my next con is actually these. This is, once again, this is very personal. This has nothing to do with this. I don't like that this is RPG when you only get 2 choices. Like, when I think of RPG, I'm thinking, oh, right, I could go in many different ways, which you still can with like the different missions and everything. But just 2 choices. I had this problem with Gloomhaven as well. I want more choices. Once again, like I said, this is 100% me personally. I like having more options instead of just having a 1 or 2 thing. Now, I've only been through a few of these, but I've already been through one of them. I don't want to spoil too much, but I've already been through one of them that the 2 choices, or the resolutions for the choices I made were not, how do I put this? It was not clear. When it gives you a choice of, do you want an apple or a banana? And then you pick apple, and you look and you go over and you get an apple. Sweet. But then you cheat and you look to see what you would have gotten if you would have picked banana. And if you would have picked banana, you would have gotten an apple and a banana. And it's like, wait, what? Like, why did you give me why would I have gotten an apple and a banana if I would have chosen banana? But just an apple if I would have chosen apple. I just didn't want to do any spoilers, but like that one kind of bothered me. Of like, don't give me a choice of A or B when the reward is not A or B. That, well, if you pick one of them, you actually get A and B, but if you pick the other one, you're just going to get B. Like, well, what? Like, why? Like, anyways, that was one thing with those. And that's why I have a problem with two choices. Because I feel like with two choices, you just don't get that aspect of of a fully good decision-making RPG going on, right? It's just like this or that. Anyways, but that's me personally. I like having more choices. So, all of these just have an A or B choice, which is fine. It's not a bad thing at all. Just personally, I like to have more options. Now, for the last thing, and this one I actually have a little bit more of a problem with. And this is just kind of how it's set up. It's nothing against the game itself, but one of the things that they do claim is that you could start the tutorial mission without having to read the book, right? And which is actually really nice, right? Right there it says rulebook, like it shows you where to go in the rulebook to look at it. So you don't have to just go and sit the rulebook or you don't have to sit and read the rulebook from start to end to start to play the game. It's, hey, let's start right in here, and we'll just kind of guide you along as you go. However, what I did not like about that is all they did here is just say, go to this page to read this. Then go to this page and read this. But that thing is actually like 5 pages long. So you ended up reading a page there, 5 pages there, another 2 pages there, and then another 3 pages there. So it's like you just sat there and read 8-10 pages of rulebook before you even started playing. And then the next one says rulebook, right? And you have to go read another couple pages. So I feel like by the end of all the tutorials, I pretty much had read the rulebook from front to cover. Like this didn't give me any slower little introductions. Once again, going back to Gloomhaven, right? Jaws of the Lion. It basically tells you what you need to do in that book. And then you go to the rulebook for clarifications if you need. But the tutorial, the missions 1 through 5 in Jaws of the Lion literally by the hand told you what to do, what you needed to do, how to do it kind of thing, right? With this one, it's like, well, we'll just tell you which pages to read in the rule book. So honestly, after I played this first scenario, and I tested it. I didn't read the rule book. I watched their video that they did on TTS. They did about 8 videos of how to play. I did that. I watched those, and then I just started this tutorial mission right away. That was my testing of like, okay, I wanted to test, can I truly do the tutorial without reading the rule book? And it worked. Like, it did work. Don't get me wrong. It worked perfectly fine. It told you where you needed to go. It told you what you needed to read. There's only one part where I was kind of confused that I had to go back because I think I just missed something. One thing, because I was reading in like 15 different places. Another thing is that it says, just read rule page 34. And this says page 12. But is that just page 12? Do I need to read everything on page 12? Does I need to read page 12 to 12? Read page 12 through 14, 12 through 15, right? How far do I need to go to understand what I need to know to do the next thing? That part got a little bit confusing. So if they added in there, I think that would be awesome at least. To be like, you need to read from this page to this page about this. Because I start reading like, well, do I need to read this next portion of it? I wasn't sure like if this portion was technically part of the portion that they wanted me to read. So I wasn't sure how much of the rulebook that I needed to read when they told me to go read the rulebook. So honestly, after I finished the tutorial, I just went back and read the book from front to cover, the rulebook. That was probably just me because jumping around so much like this did not help me. It didn't give me the full picture. And I guess I just like having the whole picture set in front of me instead of jumping around all over the place. Once again, probably it's not a bad thing. Just for me, reading the book from front to cover made a lot more sense. And helped me understand the game a lot better than jumping through. It might be different for you. Like I said, if they added at least how many pages or what section it does say what section. Maybe it was just me. I was getting confused. I don't know. Maybe I'm just stupid, which that definitely could be, right? But reading it was just easier to read the rule book for me. Just that jumping around didn't do it for me. But other than that, that's pretty much my pros and cons and how to play. So let me know what you think of this. I'm going to try to get some gameplay out. But I mean, look at that. That's just so cool. I love the art here. But so that's Phantom Epoch. Let me know what you think. I'll try to get some playthroughs put up, at least of the first few chapters, if you guys want to see like an actual playthrough of the game. And yeah, let me know what you think. Thanks.